All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something that's absolutely critical in decentralized finance: risk management. Look, the returns can be amazing, we all know that, but the dangers, they are very, very real. If you're serious about keeping your capital safe, then you are in the right place. Let's jump right in. So let's kick things off with a number that should really get your attention: $3 billion. That is how much was stolen, hacked, or just plain exploited from DeFi protocols back in 2022 alone. And to be clear, this isn't market volatility we're talking about. This is money that literally vanished into thin air, sometimes in just minutes. The stakes just couldn't be higher.
And this quote really hits on a crucial point. You know, when you buy a token and the market goes down, yeah, it hurts, but you still own the token. With protocol risk, though, the failure is total. A hack, an exploit, a death spiral, and poof, your entire deposit can be gone. Forever. Understanding what you're really up against is step number one.
So, to get you there, here's our game plan. First, we're going to map out the entire risk landscape. Then, we'll get our hands dirty and dissect a few major disasters to see exactly how they happened. After that, we'll flip the script and go on the offense, learning how to build our defenses. And we'll wrap it all up with a super practical checklist and the right mindset you need for long-term survival.
Okay, first up, let's understand the threats. It's so tempting to think of DeFi risk as just this one big, scary thing. But it's not. It's way more like a minefield, with all these different interconnected dangers. You really need to know where each one is buried before you start walking.
And that brings us to this idea of a risk stack. See, when you deposit your funds into a protocol, you're not just taking on one single risk. Nope, you're exposed to a whole stack of them, all at the same time. A bug in the smart contract, a flaw in the economic design, an exploit in a bridge. Any one of these layers can fail and bring the whole thing tumbling down.
Theory is one thing, right? But seeing how these risks actually play out in the real world, that's another. So let's dissect two absolutely catastrophic failures to understand just how devastating these things can be.
So our first case study is the Ronin Bridge hack. For anyone who was in the Axie Infinity ecosystem, this was just a seismic event. It exposed a really specific and, unfortunately, a really common point of failure in the crypto world. The damage? Over $625 million, drained by attackers. And the crazy thing is, the vulnerability wasn't in the game itself. It was in the plumbing, the infrastructure that was used to move assets from one blockchain to another. And this highlights a type of risk that's responsible for some of the biggest losses in DeFi history.
And that, of course, is bridge risk. Just think about it for a second. What is a bridge? It's basically a giant public vault of user funds just sitting there between two chains. The tech is incredibly complex, and that complexity creates this huge attack surface. For a hacker, it's the ultimate honeypot.
Okay, next up, we have a completely different kind of disaster. The Terra/Luna collapse wasn't a hack, not in the traditional sense. For the most part, the code actually worked exactly as it was designed to. The problem was much, much deeper.
The result? The complete evaporation of $40 billion in value. I mean, people's entire life savings were wiped out in just a few days. All because of a fundamental flaw, not in the lines of code, but in the economic theory holding the whole system up.
And this is protocol risk. It's this really insidious danger that a system's economic incentives just aren't sustainable. Terra's stablecoin, UST, it relied on its sister token Luna to keep its price steady. But when the market got shaky, that relationship created a death spiral. It's the ultimate proof that bug-free code means absolutely nothing if the economic model is a house of cards.
All right, I know that was pretty sobering, but look, the point isn't to scare you away from DeFi. It's to arm you with knowledge. So now, let's shift from talking about disasters to building defenses. It's time to forge your shield and really learn how to navigate this space more safely.
A fantastic mental model to start with is something called the Lindy effect. The idea is actually super simple. The longer a protocol has been around, the longer it's survived hacks, weathered market crashes, the more likely it is to keep surviving. A protocol that's been running for 5 years has proven its resilience in a way a 5-week-old project just hasn't. In this space, age is a feature.
Next up, audits. Seeing that little audited checkmark on a website is a good start, but trust me, it is not a guarantee of safety. You have to dig deeper. Who did the audit? Was it a top-tier firm? What did they find? And were the big issues actually fixed?
An audit is really just a snapshot in time, so an active bug bounty program where they actually pay hackers to find flaws, that is a powerful ongoing signal that the team is truly committed to security.
So how do you actually apply all this? Well, you do it by tiering your portfolio. You've got your blue chips, think Aave, Uniswap. These are the Lindy-proof protocols where you might feel comfortable placing larger positions. Then you've got established but younger protocols for more moderate positions. And finally, you have the new, shiny experimental stuff. This is the category where you only, and I mean only, allocate funds you are fully prepared to lose. This isn't just risk management, it's smart capital allocation.
So this all leads us to the most actionable part of our entire explainer. I want you to think of this as your final gauntlet run, a checklist you absolutely must go through every single time before you deposit your capital into a new protocol.
Let's walk through it together. 1. How long has it been live? We're looking for that Lindy effect. 2. Audits. Who did them? What they say. 3. Is there a bug bounty? 4. And this is a huge one, check the admin keys. Basically, can a few developers just decide to drain all the funds? You want to see things like time locks, which force a delay for any changes, or multi-sig wallets that need multiple people to sign off. 5. Has it been stress tested in a real crash? And finally, 6, and maybe the most important, do you actually understand how it works? If the answer is no, just stay away.
Running that checklist isn't about being paranoid, not at all. It's about adopting the right mindset. In the wild west of DeFi, the goal isn't just to win, it's to survive long enough to be able to win. And this brings us to a fundamental law of DeFi. If you see some astronomical API, you have to stop and ask why. That yield is not free money. It is direct compensation for taking on risk. A lower, more boring yield from a blue chip protocol, that's often the market's way of telling you that the system is way more secure. High yield always means high risk.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this. Chasing the highest possible yield is a losing game if it leads to a total loss of your capital. I mean, you can't compound returns if your principal goes to zero. It's that simple. Your number one objective has to be capital preservation. Survive first, then you can thrive. And I want to leave you with one final and, sobering question. After all this diligence, after you've checked every single box, have you truly accepted that a loss can still happen? Because the risk in this space can never be zero. Never, ever invest more than you are truly willing to lose. Thank you so much for joining this explainer on risk management. Next time, we're shifting gears to a much more opportunistic topic, airdrops. We'll break down how to find them, how to position yourself to qualify, and how just using protocols can sometimes lead to these massive windfalls. I'll see you then.